Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spill the RT episode 72. I'm Eamon, and I'm here with Josh. Hi, Josh. How are you today?
Hello, Emma. We are now old. We are 72 episodes old.
Josh, we've been old for a long time, pet. That's
Yeah,
just
but
the way it
now
goes.
now we are centenarians. I mean, no, I guess we're not. We're seventenarians? Septenarians. I'm starting to sound like you today. Septuagenarians. That's
Are
what it
you
is.
tripping over your words? Have you not had your
I'm
caffeine
tripping.
this morning?
I have not. I have not had enough caffeine
Oh
today. It's true.
dear, oh dear. Josh, you see, records live with me, but unfortunately, it's only morning over there in Cali, whereas we're in the depths of the night here in London at the moment. So
Yes. Yes.
poor
But
Josh
I'm
has
sounding
to.
up. I'm
You're
I'm
sounding
sounding up.
up.
I'm oof, oof, oof.
Oof. Oof, buttercock, as they say in France, when you want a boiled egg.
I, all right.
Anywho,
Good
anywho,
good to know.
we've had a great week of news stories. So we've lots to share with you today. So Josh, tell
Indeed.
us tell us about what we're covering on Spill the
Are we
RT.
ready? This
Yes.
week, Mondrian's female predecessor, question mark. Oh, and a Jimmy Carter, for real cheap, in fact. A Louvre update in all different kinds of ways. Parmesan conspiracies. Parmesan and the NFL, of all things. Who knew? And a gigantic replica of the Epstein birthday card showed up on the National Mall. Ah, chef kisses. All that and a brand new guest are up next as we spill the RT. Welcome to episode 72.
72. Yeah, baby. We've got quite a lot of stories there, so why not welcome on our guests so we can get kick-started? So please welcome to the floor, ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between. It's James. Where is he? There he is.
Come
Hello,
on,
James. Come on
James.
down, James.
Hey guys.
All
Hello.
the waves. Hi, I'm coming in here from Ireland. Oh, sorry, James. You have to deal with our lunacy for the evening. I
That's
hope you didn't
okay.
have anything else planned for this evening that was worthwhile.
Not a thing. It's been a very quiet day.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good.
A
That's
rainy
good.
day, that's what they're for.
This is
Rainy
three
days are,
painters.
yes.
This is three painters. None of us had anything better to do. Let's be honest.
No, 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 absolutely not. Absolutely not. Paintings are great for covering the bills after all. So, you know, being
I
an
always try to.
artist is
People always.
great.
People always. I can't be with myself. I'm like, well, then you clearly could never be a painter or a sculptor or someone that literally has to spend hours and hours in their own head with nothing else, right? Like, that's what long evenings are for.
This is it. This is it. Well, James, we have loads to talk to you about later on the show when we catch up with you about what's happening in your practice at the moment. But
I'm good.
until then, we will get straight into our first story. So, Josh, where are we heading to first?
Straight. So I
Perfect.
guess off to Britain we go, since this person actually is British. Although when people hear Piet Mondrian, I don't think they think of Britain. They think probably more of America or
Mm.
France. James, you know Piet Mondrian, I'm assuming. Yes, this is
Yes,
a name that you
I
know.
do
I think.
indeed.
I think probably most people have probably know like Mondrian's work more than they actually know the name Mondrian, right? Because of the way that those geometric kind of shapes have kind of permeated
Hmm.
across the world. So here's the issue: there was this other person named Marlow Moss who was born in the late 19th century in Britain. And apparently, so at one point they thought Mondrian came first. And then at another point they said, no, she came first. And now the resolution is no, they actually were in kind of dialogue with each other. And so this is Mondrian's work. And then do
Hmm.
we have a Marlowe piece, which
So they're
looks
both.
similar?
So I think the one on the left is the Moss work, and the one on the right is the Mondrian work.
Is it?
So
I don't,
they're literally that close.
it's the one I saw was
And
more like,
I have this one as well. So we have
yeah,
this one
that's the
here,
one.
which
Yeah.
has the Moss work from 1956, which is on the left of your screen if you're looking at this on the visual podcast. And the one on the right is the Mondrian piece, which is from 1921. So you've got the very clear similarities that are going on there.
Yeah, and so at one point it was this issue, right, that her work came out later, and so they were saying, no, this was the result of his effect on other artists, and they research has now gone back and said, no, actually, at the time he was creating this, he was in dialogue with her about what they were calling the two lines. I guess
Mm,
from today's perspective, this
Mhm.
seems like, well, duh, why wouldn't you do this? Because we've grown up in a world where geometric art is all
mm,
around us in different ways, right? Like, look behind me. Hello. But
mm,
then, right, this was like a novel thing of having straight lines at all and to have them
yeah.
in parallel. And so that was like a major rupture in the moment of painting for those who are not aware of this. That's why this matters.
And I
I
think
don't know.
that
What do you think,
the
James?
hmm.
Oh, go ahead. Either one of you.
The one thing what I read from that article was that it was the lines they were referring to were the double lines that were coming up here because
Yeah.
of the double line that were similar in this particular piece here, because them being so closely related to each other, you can see that that double line so close together is very similar. Anyway, yes. Anyway,
Yeah.
what do you think, James?
Honestly, if you were to just not have given me any context to this whatsoever, I would have still have just said all Mondrian. I'm just
Yeah,
kind of looking at them, like I know even the ones we're looking at here on the left with the yellow, I would have said maybe that's someone else just because I'm not really familiar with Mondrian's work using a lot of yellow. There might be
yeah.
just a little smidge, but never that much in the piece in total.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Definitely
It's
structurally though,
definitely.
they're so similar.
it's
So
also the
similar. You
but
can hear,
Mondrian
yeah.
typically like rims. It's that's why it's more like block like. Like the piece
Mm,
from her on the left has more kind of flow to it because it's not all like you get these parallel, but it's like blue on blue and yellow and blue, not just the blacks, which I think always tend to
Hmm.
dominate. I mean that you're right. The red and the blue tends to be much more predominant in his work than the yellows, but there is some, even in like Broadway Boogie, there is a little bit
mm,
of yellow that does show up in that piece. Hers, it just has a little more free form to me. But I mean, I guess to me, like they at one point, I guess feminist critics were trying to claim her and so like show how she had been like not given her due in this conversation. And like
mm.
basically, as things tend to settle out, it starts with one extreme, then it goes to the other extreme, and then we find this like happy middle, right? And the happy middle here is no, actually, we have the correspondences that they exchanged. They actually were talking about these things in the 20s. So it wasn't like she was influencing him or he was influencing her. They were doing what artists do, talk about shit and then see what happens.
Hmm. I found this really interesting as well because they were saying that her work in some Dutch museum was placed at the forefront,
Yeah.
and the Mondrian work was very much in the background. So it was kind of that she was the star of the show in that Dutch museum, which is quite interesting.
Yeah. Well, as always, that speaks to who is doing the arrangement of the
Of
pieces,
course,
right?
yeah,
Anyone
yeah,
who's dealt with curation at all immediately becomes, well, maybe some curators aren't aware of this. That's why their curation is so horrible. But like how you arrange stuff does actually affect how people experience it, right?
yes. Mm. It's just
Those of
interesting
us.
with the hierarchy, and whether you see Mondrian as the person who is the instigator of his style, and whether they should be given precedence or not.
It just reminds me of like Brock Picasso. Like, I don't really care who came first. I'm more interested in like what I get out of it as an artist
Yeah,
myself when I go to make work. But
Hmm.
I don't go to museums because I'm an art lover. I go to museums because I'm an artist. I look at it a little differently.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me, was it that show that was happening in Dublin with Evie Hone and Maney Jellett?
mm,
Like they both bounced ideas off one another. Their work is very similar. And
yeah,
obviously there's a narrative behind it. We know there's a story behind it.
Yeah.
mm,
Just kind of what you're saying here, that's instantly what I'm thinking.
yeah. I often find that
Yeah.
when I go to a gallery, that for say the billing artist, whether it was like a Chagall or something like that, that I think I went to see in south of France recently, and there was another artist there that I just fell in love with because of them being similar in style or similar in era to the principal artist, and then actually coming out loving them more than the main kind of focal point, which is quite interesting.
Well, I mean, to me, like art is about problem solving, right? And so
Mm,
sometimes you want to solve that problem with help from others. Sometimes it's living artists you have conversations with, and
mm,
sometimes it's dead artists or artists you're not going to be in contact with, but you have their art and that you have the art to be in contact with, you
yeah.
know? Like one of the things I really miss about records back when everything used to actually be like a full album of music is that you had people that were arranging the sequence that they wanted that
Yes.
music to be experienced
Yeah.
in, right?
Yeah.
And with
Mm,
downloading today, you don't have that experience.
mm,
And so it's the same kind of thing. Like to me, I don't go to a studio visit because I want to get into people's space. I want to see how they want to see their work presented
mm,
versus the way somebody else presents it. Because even
mm.
the most sympathetic of curators not going to present your work the way you see it if you put it on the wall yourself, right? Like
Yeah.
there is a difference there.
Yeah. That's why it's always
What
good
do
to
I
not
know?
have. It's always good not to have the artist in the room when you're curating. That's just a general rule of thumb.
Depending. You had some experiences. I don't know if you want to share them.
I've had decades of experiences of that, Josh, or a decade. I'm not that old, but where you're in the room, and sometimes the artist being in the room is generally not very helpful. But that's okay. We won't go there.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. Poof.
that tea is
Moving
spilled.
on.
We are moving
Moving
swiftly.
on.
We are. Where are we off to next?
Off we go to Christie's sales. Imagine that.
Mm,
Another Christie's sale coming up. And shockingly, for once, they are selling paintings, but they're not
hmm
really selling paintings because of their artistic painting quality per se, because these are marked as low as $2,000. Now, as we all know, a Winston Churchill sold for many more millions of that not too long ago when Angelina Jolie sold her Churchill. She got like, I think, what was it, like $11 million or something for that
Wow.
painting. Yeah, these are Jimmy Carter, the recently deceased former president, right? He died at 100, rest in peace. He was a truly good guy, one of the last really good guys that there were. And he painted apparently for decades, truly just for fun. Like he spent his time doing humanitarian causes. He always worked to build houses. Like he was constantly this idea of like ennobling your spirit by helping
Mhm.
others. Right. And so this is a rare insight. He apparently did more than 100 paintings, and
Oh,
there
cool.
many of them are now up for sale. And like I
Interesting.
said, they're not, the quality here is not particularly aesthetically pleasing. They remind me of like a first year painting class where people who aren't necessarily painting majors, shall we say, but they do represent like insight into how the guy
Hmm. It's a
relaxed.
it's a legacy thing, isn't it? It's kind of like you
Yeah.
had a piece of them through their eyes. But I think what I found interesting was the he sold two chairs that because he was a craftsman as well, or a kind of a
Yeah.
furniture designer. He created two chairs and they sold at auction in the 80s, I think, for $42,000 or something similar
Yeah.
to that. So they're going for decent value. I don't know what sort of value are on these paintings or what they have
Well,
them.
previous two other paintings he had done that were done for
Mm,
charity sold for more than $500,000 each. But again,
okay.
that's in the context of, right, you're pitching money to fund a nonprofit. And so that's not really about like
Mm,
what's going to happen at Christie's of bidding this up. I
yeah.
think they're starting this so low because they're hoping to bid this up, because with 100 pieces out there and with the hope of someone like Churchill,
Mhm,
like I said, Carter is not, Churchill was a real painter. He was a
mhm.
really fine painter. Carter's work, I don't know if we have it. He did a landscape that I saw. It was nice. It was a good, like like I said, the kind of thing a first or second year painting student
Yeah,
might
cool.
produce. And
Hmm.
this is like the same kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
it's interesting, but it's not really.
He's not the first American president though to put their paintbrush to canvas. Doesn't George W. Bush, didn't he do a lot
Oh
of
yes,
painting as
what
well?
Okay.
the shrub is well known for
The
doing
shrub.
paintings that are, yeah, we call him the shrub,
Okay.
because George W. Bush, right? He's a
Yes.
shrub. Um,
Okay.
but apparently Dwight Eisenhower, who was
Okay.
president back in the
Hmm.
1950s, was a painter, and a very well known painting of himself that apparently like was a cover of a magazine at one point. So
Mm.
there's a history of presidents who like paint to relax. It's just the quality issue, and more importantly, do you got $2,000 you want to spend here? What do you think, James? You got some cash you want to drop on Carter?
I'd rather people give me the cash, but and I'll give them a
Mm,
painting.
yeah.
That's my opinion.
That's a good opinion. A good opinion to have. And folks, if you stay tuned to the rest of the episode, you'll find out what other presidents have been up to later on in the show. So there you go. Yeah, look at that. A little bit of a tease for you folks. Wonder who we're talking about. Hmm?
Can't imagine. Can't
Never.
imagine.
It's can't imagine. Where are we moving to next, Josh?
So off we go to Paris, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh,
James, I'm sure you are aware that the Louvre was broken into. Yes. Yeah. Have you seen
Well aware.
video? You've seen a video from the outside. I think most of us have
Yes,
seen the video from the outside. Have
I
you
think
seen the
everyone
video from
has.
the inside though? Because they
I've seen
released,
pictures.
no, no, they actually released video from the inside. And
Okay,
this is
okay.
what I brought this up, not just to keep hammering on the French and how much they sucked at this, but the video shows you can see the people coming in. You see guards there, and the guards do nothing. They actually like cower away from these people because they're just concerned about public safety, not guarding anything.
no.
It does not leave one with a sense of safety.
They feel that they're just not paid enough to put themselves into these positions. So they're like, oh, I'm not dealing with that.
They're on
Absolutely
their
I
not.
don't
third
get paid enough
strike.
for this.
No,
They're on their
exactly.
third strike. Their
Yeah.
third strike since the theft took place.
Yeah.
It's part of it. It's just a French thing, right? Like strikes in France kind of go together like tea in the English. Like every other day is a strike in France, but part of it is they're pissed enough that they're like, we're not going into the building. We're just gonna hang out here because there's no reason for us to pretend.
We Irish folk like the tea as well, just so just so that we're
That's
not
true.
just separating ourselves from that idea.
Are-
I
are-
I wanted to add to that as well. So, like, one of the things that I think is actually fair, that reason why they are striking, is because they are spending about 600 million or something on the new museum that's dedicated to the Mona Lisa, or the kind of like space,
the
when
wing
this
of
the
it.
wing,
Mhm.
when there's ceilings falling in and there's electrics like not working in the main museum, and they're spending 600 million on one artwork and
When there's
focusing
no
on the
cameras on the crown jewels, you
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Or
yes. Oh, and what was that? Another 100 mil that they just dropped from just letting the crown jewels just disappear.
I,
I
I
mean, they're really good. They're really good at
look,
managing their
they
budgets.
they have budgeted almost $1 billion to fix
Mm,
that museum. But yes, like 600 million of it are apparently to build a new wing for the Mona Lisa.
yeah.
Not necessarily the way I would approach a
No.
centuries old leaking building,
No.
but
I can see one way of it, in that, like, okay, right, the Mona Lisa is probably their biggest income earner, and for non-European guests, they have to pay 32 euros to get into the space. So it is probably their biggest income earner. However, should they not be thinking about, like, the historical um uh conservation of that building that's existing there already, perhaps?
well, I don't know if you all remember when IM Pei built that whole glass pyramid thing out in
Mm.
front.
Hmm.
There was
Mhm.
huge uproar because he was violating the sanctity of the site. Right? How dare you? And the whole point was, well, we want to add on to this, keep adding on to culture. Culture hasn't frozen. But apparently,
Exactly.
what that also means, culture's allowed to rot and drip and decay. And
Mm.
because the building is
Mhm.
like falling apart, right? Like, this was not a very
Yeah.
difficult heist. This wasn't even Ocean's 11 level heisting here. This was
No.
like clown car.
No. Yeah.
In
Low
through the
budget.
window
Yeah.
It,
In through the window. Pull up one of
out with
with
the
a
those.
jewels.
Yeah.
with a crane that they drove. So it's not like it wasn't even like they stealthily like, oh, let's climb up and no. You had to see this giant crane coming, and you're wondering to yourself, what's a giant crane doing at the back of the fucking museum? Oh, I
Yeah.
can't imagine. Right? It's insane. The
Yeah.
whole thing is insane.
If your
But
one
it's
in the
about
Louvre painting
priorities.
could laugh now, she'd be absolutely hysterical, wouldn't she? She'd be laughing at everybody as they pass her.
I just think we've talked about this before. It's about priorities, and it's a way of separating like how the normal people, the hoi polloi, if you will, see the world versus the people who have the actual decision-making power.
Mm.
It's very rarely what any of us would do. And
Yes.
I always like to think that if I had that power, I would do what I do now there. I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know.
I
But
don't
I'd
know.
like to think I'd do it a little better.
Yeah. How about your gallery, James? Do you reckon, how's the security in your gallery?
I think we're fairly good. Nothing's been stolen anyway, so we've
See.
got
I
that
mean,
covered the
if
loot.
a how in Ireland can stay protected, and you know how the Irish can be, they can be a bit out there sometimes.
But be
So.
honest, James, were you going to say, oh no, our security shit, come on in? Right?
At least we actually have cameras.
Exactly. Are they plugged in,
And
James?
they're
Are they
on.
plugged in?
Unbelievable.
Is the
Unbelievable.
record button actually in play? Oh dear.
I just
Anyway,
that whole thing, it just keeps getting worse, right? It's like
it does.
onions,
Mhm.
layers of the onion that just keeps unpeeling, and you're like,
Yeah.
what have you been doing for decades here? This
Yeah.
didn't arrive out of yesterday.
Yeah.
Just
All these people
bizarre.
there, look outside the
Yeah,
Louvre. They're all
yeah.
having a great time. I'd say
That
most
was
of
just a
them are
couple
just
days ago.
there for an extended. Yeah, this is I think the 19th of January, I think, is when I got this picture. But
Mhm.
it's they're all having a glass of wine there, really, aren't they? They just don't want to be inside, you know.
Well, it just makes you think this is why the pay is actually able to be seen, because then you can
Yes.
tell if it's falling apart. The rest of the building, you can't see it unless you're inside it, right? So you
Yeah.
don't know that it's falling apart. And so it's kind of a smart kind of thing. They have to
Yeah.
keep that thing in good condition because you can see it from the street.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, spill that tea on. Go on. It's all over the floor.
So you guys you're both from let's say European affiliated countries. He hates when I just say the UK. So I'll just say you're in
I'm fr-
Europe. How's
yeah,
that?
we're
How's
from
that?
Ireland,
We'll
the
take
two
it.
of us.
We'll
So,
take
but
it.
so are you aware of American Parmesan versus Italian Parmigiano Reggiano? Because this is a
Well,
huge controversy in the cheese world.
you see, American cheese, in my experience, is yellow, and there isn't very many cheeses out there that are actually yellow in their pigment.
We're not talking about American cheese, not
No,
not
we're
capital
not.
A American, not the
So that's
slices,
that
not.
is my understanding of the comparison between American cheese and Parmigiano.
No. How about you, James?
Hot take here. To me, American cheese is just plastic.
Yes. Yeah,
That's my
Okay,
first thoughts.
that's a good
It's
take.
just a square with the little stereotypical holes in it that you see in
Yeah,
cartoons.
yeah. Tom
so
and
It's fine.
Jerry.
here's
Yeah,
the truth,
Yeah.
right?
exactly.
In the Midwest, in places like Wisconsin, tremendous number of Italian immigrants emigrated and brought their cheese making techniques with them. And so they make Parmesan cheese in the style of Parmigiano Reggiano. But because there's a domain, and it's called a DPO, on anything that's labeled Parmigiano Reggiano, it can only be those 5 towns. It can only be from that county. Otherwise, you
Mhm.
got to call it something else, right? To have it in America is even worse. And then I don't know if you've ever seen the green cans of what's called Parmesan cheese, which is half cellulose powder and half cheese that people will put on cheese on like
Well,
pizza. It's total crap, right?
do you
But
know
there's
what?
real cheese.
I
There's
think
real.
I think I think that firstly anyway, I hate Parmesan because it smells like sick. So all you need to do in America is get all of the vomiting that you do outside the Trump estate and then pour that into like little jugs and then make it
That's
into like dust and then just put that over it because it's the same
that's
smell.
umami. Parmigiano Reggiano. Oh, it's fantastic. It's total. It's a taste bomb in your mouth. So
No,
anyhow,
je
but
ne
that's
sais
not the
pas.
story.
No, no.
Mhm.
This is all backstory. Okay, the
Hmm.
Italian producers of Parmigiano Reggiano have gotten pissed, and they want Americans to know that Parmigiano Reggiano is not Parmesan cheese. That there's a difference there, right?
Hmm.
They are
Mhm.
now. Would you connect cheese and the NFL? National Football League, American football. I highly doubt that you would. I certainly would not. But now on screens and billboards all over the place, we have 32 football teams in the United States. So these are lots of stadiums, like 70,000 people in the stadium at a time. Now they're putting up ads over and over again for Parmigiano Reggiano. The
Hmm.
Parmigiano Reggiano consortium has decided they're going to like psychologically train Americans football games to buy their cheese. That's what this story is.
Well, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. They can afford to pay advertisements and the in the NFL advertisements. I mean, I probably should have worn my own personal football jersey in order to kind of tell us this story because that's what the people would have come for, to be honest. But
Uh,
you know,
it's
It's
to
a
me, it's
very unique
bizarre.
way of doing it.
it is.
I would not have associated, oh, let's promote our cheese. Where's the ideal place to do that? How about a
Right.
football game?
Yeah.
Exactly. Whether it's American football or European football, right? Soccer, whatever you want to call it. You like even Aussie rules football. Like you would not normally associate a sport involving
No.
people slamming into each other in various ways with
Yeah.
Parmesan cheese, right? It just the thing is just bizarre to me, which is why I
Although,
thought
to
I
be
would.
honest now, Josh, if you were going to a GAA match in Tipperary, you can be guaranteed there'd be a few marts putting up some advertisements about some fresh milk around the perimeter of the
Oh,
field.
no, 100%. Like every local, like AAA baseball team, little league teams, like high school, like you see all these billboards and things for local.
Hmm.
I have no problem with small businesses trying to advertise, right? That's how you stay in business. This is like a conspiracy of the mind of trying to somehow psychologically get NFL, and this is like the big Super Bowl's coming up in a couple weeks, right? Like this is
Mm,
one of the biggest events of every year. Billions are spent on advertising, right?
yeah.
And so their
Mhm.
mindset is this is the time to tap into Americans' minds. And how do we do this? Parmesan, no. Parmigiano Reggiano, yes. Parmesan, no. Parmigiano Reggiano, yes. They think that that's I'm not making this up. That's how they think
Oh,
they're gonna up their
There's
sales.
something so uniquely American about that.
yeah. You must have had Paramaggio on your cereal this morning, Josh, did you? Because now you seem like you're very like you're very
I
into
do
this.
I do cook with it a lot. It is a fantastic way of adding extra flavor into many different recipes, right? But I'm not sitting. I don't eat cereal for breakfast at all. But I'm not going to sit there and put. Like, come on,
Yeah, it's
get a
almost as
life.
bad. It's almost as bad as truffle. Like I go, that's like
Yeah.
oh.
Well, that's
No,
truffles are fine. Truffle oil is a whole other nasty concoction that should just never be in anyone's life. It's
yeah,
just
throw it in the
horrible.
bin. In the bin. Get in the bin. Like the story. Splat.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Speaking of things that should go in the bin,
yes.
off we go. So, as we all know, we're in the middle of a fascist attempted takeover here in the Western world in various ways. And one of the best ways to fight fascism, as we talked about before, is using humor, right? That's why Dada, surrealism, these have been tools that have been used literally for 100 years now to push
Hmm.
back against various kinds of authoritarianism and fascism. So we all know that Mr. Drumpf is connected to Jeffrey Epstein and all the issues that have gone on there. And one of the things that came out of that is a birthday card that our, let's say, not beloved current president apparently signed and gave to said Mr. Epstein. And a giant, I don't know, 8-10 foot version of it showed up on the National Mall. And the backstory here, for those that have been paying attention, is anonymous people keep putting things up connected to the Epstein Drumpf connection on the National Mall, because it's one of the places where you're allowed to do this free speech. Even when they try to take it down, it gets put back up again because it's a declared space to have political protest. So yes, this is a giant drawing of a woman's crotch that is his signature. Yes.
I missed that.
Yeah.
I didn't get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. If you zoom
Jeez.
in,
I'm
if
not
you
going to zoom in.
yeah, this is a poem. This is the famous poem to Epstein where Trump says that they both share a certain love of certain things. And I think we all know exactly what that means on many levels. And then he drew this picture, and I will note the prepubescent breasts of said picture, and I will
Oh
note
dear.
the
Oh
the
dear.
Trump the
Okay.
Trump
Okay.
signature where the crotch
Oh,
would be,
I think
right?
we need to leave this speak for itself without overly explaining it because it's
Like
just
I
all a
said,
bit much.
looking at you, fascists, looking at you. This is your
Oh,
guy. He
but
ain't
he is a
mine.
terrific guy, isn't he? Isn't he a terrific guy? Oh,
Fingers
dear.
crossed. Fingers crossed.
There was this podium that was played
Yeah,
beside it. So my understanding of
because that's
this
the
maybe
files. Yeah,
yes, of
part of
course.
this is all right. So we had to pass a law to get the files supposedly released. They've released almost nothing. What they have released has been completely redacted. There's now up to 5 million files apparently that they have that they're supposed to have released by law last year that still have not been released. So this is part of the tug of war where we're making fun, but it's also really kind of serious. And but doing this also is helping to fracture, because members of his coalition want, like, they're really pushing hard. We want to know who are the pedophiles here. Someone's a pedophile. We're just trying to figure out who. And obviously, it's one of those thou doth protest too much situations, right? The more you
Yeah.
refuse to release it, there must be a reason why you won't come clean.
Oh dear. Well, to bring this back to art, it's all about, putting it out there and making a splash. Uh, and yeah, surely enough, it is very much all over
Yeah.
Washington, D.C. But yeah, there you go. There's that. I've no words. Have you words, James, on this?
I don't even know what to say.
Well,
I
the
know.
bigger,
See, this is what
I think
happens
the
with
bigger
Willie
issue,
RT.
the bigger issue from an artist perspective is, right, even amidst, it's really dark times right now in parts of the US. I'm
Mm,
not going to lie, right? Like, we are
Yeah.
literally in the middle of a cold civil war. But artists, people, just normal, regular people are refusing to give in to dismay and are refusing to, like, let the light go out. And I'm not saying that as a cliche. I'm saying that
mm,
literally. Like, it takes balls to do something like this in Washington, D.C., because there's cameras all around you. So you have to find a way to do this and to sneak it in and to set it up and to make this happen and then get yourself out in a way where they still don't know who you are. And
yeah.
so that people are doing this on a regular basis means, even amidst the dead center of fascist America, people are still going like this on the National Mall to the schmuck in charge. And so I celebrate that, right? I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but at least for today, we're able to say, ha, ha, ha.
Oh, well, let's leave it at that before we are cancelled and actually completely overtaken
Yes. If
by
I
the
don't
Trump
show up next
administration.
week, if I don't show up next week, you'll know why.
I will, yeah. I'll never be allowed into America ever again. If anybody realizes why Spill the RT has been taken off air for a certain amount of time, it's because I've gone to visit my in-laws.
No. The best thing all of you who are not here can do is don't come. Cut
Yes.
off the tourist dollars. Don't buy American for a while and send a message.
Anywho, on to brighter things. James, we're going to talk about your fabulous work now because we need some positive
Yes.
injections right now. So, James, firstly, tell us a little bit about you and what you're up to at the moment.
Okay, in what way?
In
That's the
what way?
first
Okay.
thing I want to.
Well, let's
Yeah.
let's let's start with just having a look at some of your work. So we have a really cool piece here, and that we're going to just share people with. So tell us what is the context of this? Where did it come out of? Have you exhibited? All those sort of things.
So that particular piece was part of a series I actually did for my degree show
Okay.
back in 2024, so 2 years.
And where did you
But
do that?
that was in Limerick School of Art and Design.
Cool.
And that was your
So
BFA?
yes, Bachelor of Honors, painting department. Shout out to them. So as part of the project I was doing, I suppose just a bit of background, as part of my process, observation, walking, and kind of just taking in the surroundings, and I suppose just being in the here and now, that's something that really is quite prevalent in my work and
Mm,
sort of my research methods. I'm not really interested in doing work that's going into particular themes or particular what's going on in the world around me. I like to do my own inner world, if that kind of makes sense. I've always been
yeah.
very interested in that. And like, I suppose even other artists I like, it's always been, I suppose I discovered as art that makes you feel.
Mm,
That's always been the kind of work I personally enjoy. So that's kind of the work I like to make myself.
mhm.
For this particular project, I was focusing on the farm where I grew up. There's about 40 paintings in this series.
Well,
4 of them are 75 by 100 in size, and the rest of them were about 25 by 30, if I remember correctly.
okay.
The whole intention was that these 40 paintings could all be showcased in a continuous row, and it's almost like a map, sort of documenting a walking route I would have taken over the course of, I think I'm going to say 16 years. So it's just a little log of just all these little
Oh,
things I would have
amazing.
noticed on these walks as I do this one route I've taken over all these different years.
Yeah.
And you're painting with oils. So are you doing this
Yeah.
plein air or are you doing this in the studio?
Most of these would have been done in the studio. So typically, it either video or photos I just collect on my phone just as I'm doing these walks. It might be something that I just think is an interesting composition, maybe a particular color, a shape, some kind of form I just noticed. Like in this case, those are fireweed plants that are just growing out and just some shrubs and bales of silage out at the back of the farm. You probably can notice it there. There's a tractor in the background.
Hmm.
There's a little speck of just orange, a bit of a more turquoise green that's a bit dulled down. If you take a close look, you'll see it.
Okay, cool.
But it was that one piece of fireweeds that just really stood out to me, and I said, okay, that needs to be a painting.
Amazing. So, like these paintings, how much of this are these all realistic insofar as like they are a depiction of the image that you've captured, or do you bring your own imagination into it as well to kind of bring forward that emotion, or
It
what is
kind
your
of
process that way?
it would depend, I suppose, on the image I'm working with. Like
Mm,
some of them, like this one, for example, is more or less a depiction of the space as is.
mm,
Usually, like I probably haven't got an example here, but like paintings of maybe fields or hills or maybe skies, I might kind of bring in a bit more of abstract elements. Like there might be, what was the medium I was working with? I discovered linseed oil
yeah, it's
and I had
great.
a great time with it.
Yeah, it's fab.
So if you see it, if you've seen any of my other works, you'll notice there's drip patterns or there's these spiral shapes going on in there.
Mm.
That was me when I made the discovery of
Linseed
linseed
oil.
oil as a thing.
Yeah, it's
And then
it's
I
it's a good
discovered liquid.
it's a good thing to use. And it's great to get the luminescence from it as well. It's really beautiful. Cool. And here's another piece.
Yeah.
So again, this is part of
Mhm.
your kind of stream of
Same
consciousness
project.
almost as you're
Yeah.
going through this story. It's really great.
Yeah, I really liked this one. Some of these really reminded me of like Andrew Wyeth, this kind of like
Mm,
Okay.
stillness of the moment and like catching what's there but isn't necessarily seen unless it's seen, right?
Unless you really just stop and like observe your surroundings and just take in the now.
Yeah.
Ironic considering I'm using a phone, but still.
I also find it quite interesting. So like this, it's a particular style that I think it's coming through quite a lot recently. I found in some recent grads and who are kind of creating paintings in this coloring. The colors are quite kind of, they're not monochromatic, but they're quite undersaturated. And I find that that's something that's become quite popular.
I've noticed it as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
We in the US we talk about it as milk paint because it's a style where literally milk used to be mixed into to have the pigment have that kind of dull white kind of wash behind it. Right.
Yeah, I'm finding that quite interesting that that's coming up quite a bit in people's work. So then this piece
It's
here,
interesting.
which is a little bit different than from your
So
walks
what's
in
going
the
on here?
farm.
So that's actually part of a completely different project I did last year. I was involved in a residency in Crete for 3 months, and I decided to be brave and try work with sculpture for I'm going to say the first official time. I did dabble a bit with it in college, but this was the first time I was like, okay, I'm going to really just set my mind to a particular project. And I don't know how well it can be seen on the screen, but this was kind of my outcome. So basically, as part of this residency, I went to Hania in Crete for 3 months.
Cool.
Lovely time. Really enjoyed it. It was a great place. I would definitely recommend. And as part of this kind of similar process that I say did with the farm paintings, but this time it's in a location I have no real personal attachment, no nostalgia. There's no sentimentality to it at all. It's completely new location. I've never been here before. And what's my interpretation of this space? And it was actually during that residency, that's when I made the connection of, okay, roads and sort of taking these walks was quite common through all my projects. Because that's typically how I work. It's always as a project, I pick a location, I do these walking routes, and I just document what I find. And because this was like the project where I made that realization and that discovery, I basically started collecting pieces of pavement while I was there.
Oh, cool.
And started casting them. It took a while to get hold of the materials over there. I had to order like that resin that was used in them. It had to come from mainland Greece, and then I had to get this photoluminescent powder that came all the way from London. I got shipped all the way to Crete, and then basically casted these cobblestones, and then basically just constructed my own little road. And where like that sort of glowing element comes into it, I think it's just because Crete, if you've ever been, is a very touristy kind of location. It's a tourist hotspot.
Yeah.
So it's always packed. There's always people there. It's almost like it doesn't really, if there's no tourists there, there's not really much going on, is kind of my interpretation. And it was kind of like, okay, how do you perceive these touristy locations when the people are there or when they're not? It's almost like two different places. So I kind of wanted to do a little sort of sculpture that had a flip side to say day and night, like when the place is busy, when the place is empty and quiet.
Yeah, well, you've met your Mr. Luminescent pal here in Josh, but there's no, it's really cool. I find this quite mystical, just kind of probably because of the blues and the kind of the contrast in the coloring, but it kind of in the light, it does look quite magical, and think you can kind of think about that when you're walking in the night sky, I suppose, and you have that kind of in a place like Crete where it's quite beachy or touristy, and you kind of feel that. It's cool.
And like even in the daylight, those stones are just a regular, I'm going to say sort of peachy yellow kind of color.
Okay,
they look like an ordinary piece of pavement. You could literally just lay them down and you probably wouldn't even notice a difference. It's only when it actually gets dark that's when the color changes.
Yeah, cool. Love that. And then this final installation piece that you have here, what are we looking at here?
That's, I suppose, a complete install of all the work that was made on this same residency. So you can probably see just on the floor there, that's the install of the stones laid out just in front of the paintings.
Interesting.
So that's where they're in the lights, that's how they look.
Yeah.
And it's probably not as noticeable in the picture, but where all the paintings are located, there's a red thread joining them together. So as I said, when I made that discovery of, okay, mapping and going on these walks is an important part of my practice, I started mapping where I went using just like it was like there was an app you could set up on like my gallery on my phone. So I could literally just document where I took the pictures that I was using as references for these paintings.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then I went to the effort of sticking all these nails in the wall, getting red thread, and then
Sure.
recreating the roads on the
Yeah.
wall. And then basically where the paintings are hung, that's how they would have been in real life, where I found them on the map.
Are you familiar with the tradition of the derive, the French derive, Derive, I think is
I'm
how it's spelled, or
gonna say
Eve?
no.
It means
No.
experiential map, right? Like what you're creating
Okay.
is not a map that is referential in the sense of objectively referential. It's an
Mm.
experience of a person or place, a thing or whatever, right? And that's
Okay. Yeah.
right. And so it pulls the pieces together to make an amalgam. It's not any one, it's all of it together. It's
All
experience.
combined.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. And it kind of reminds me of a nature trail as well, of something that you would
Kind
have,
of, yeah, yeah.
which
Yeah.
is good to kind of have that whole
Because
experience.
even
And
with
there's,
those pieces, yeah. I was
mm,
using actually, the tourist maps you just get in your little tourist office and gift shops.
yeah,
That's what I was just using to map the whole location. Yeah. So you're on the right track there.
It's
fantastic.
interesting too, though. I
Yeah.
was just thinking about how many Irish artists now I have met, and there does seem to be a common thread through much of their work of an influence of nature and observation and like the quiet,
Yeah.
the quiet moments that can then be revealed in different kinds of ways.
Hmm.
We live in a very green pasture, Josh. We're surrounded by beauty. Why wouldn't we put it on a canvas?
And
We
yet
do
there
love
you are,
fields.
and
Yeah.
yet there you are in London, Amo. So,
Let's not put that out there. That's just reality
You
versus
can always come back to
imagination.
the fields.
I'll come back to the fields, no problem. I love the smell of cow in the morning to bring it back to the cheese.
yeah, you just don't want any of the nice products that the rest of us are enjoying that come from
No,
it. The truffles.
nope. Don't want the truffle. Don't want the Parmigiano. Nope, not here for any of it. Josh or James, it's been fantastic to have you on to share your work. It's been really nice to see it and to share it with all of our viewers. So thank you for doing that.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
No bother. You mentioned that you have something coming up in a couple of months.
I have a solo show coming up in Galway. I'm going to say July. The dates have not been officially confirmed yet. So it's
Okay,
going to be part of the Galway Arts Festival with Engage
Nice.
Studios.
brilliant.
So, like a lot of those farm paintings I was showing you there are going to be featured in said show.
Okay, great.
So, if
Well,
anyone is interested in seeing them in person,
we will make sure that we link that up. So do keep us
yeah.
in touch, and you never know, we'll get you back on closer to that time so that you can share people about what you're getting up to with that exhibition and what you're planning to put into it and all of that. And
sounds good.
we'll keep people posted. So, but thank you so much, James. And James,
Thanks so
also,
much.
how do people see more of your work, or how do they get in touch with you?
Usually, you'll find me on Instagram at James Wellwood or James underscore Wellwood 99.
Great.
That's typically
We'll
where
put
I
it.
tend to
Yep.
post
We'll
nearly
pop that
everything.
link in the
Yes.
description. Brilliant, brilliant. But we'll share all that with all of our viewers. And yeah, thank you very much for coming on. You've been
Thanks
great.
so much. And you as
Thank
well.
you.
Thanks so
Yay.
much. We did it.
Um, yeah, we did it. Josh, before we go, please tell all of our viewers and listeners what they are to do right
So, whether
now.
you're listening to us or watching us, whatever application you're using has some kind of way to
Mm,
subscribe and get notifications. We would ask very kindly if you would please click on those things and either more importantly, leave a comment of some kind. Just tell me, Josh, shut up. That's totally fine. I don't care.
perfect.
Josh, you're an idiot. Doesn't matter. Like, whatever.
Even
Curse at me if
better.
you want. It doesn't matter. We're not
Absolutely.
going to block you. I promise. The algorithm only sees us as actually having impact in the world if people actually leave comments and like and subscribe. I know it's silly. You know it's silly. But guess what? It means something to us. It's 10 seconds of your life.
It
Please.
does. It does. And
How's that?
it doesn't cost you anything. So that's great.
Nothing.
No.
We're
And if
And
completely
you don't do it, you have
nonprofit.
to give your
We got
local
nothing.
artist money.
that's it. And you have
And if you don't do it, you have to give your local artist money.
perfect. Perfect. Love that. Love that. See, James is on to a winner here. And also, you can now see our visual podcast on Spotify because they've enabled that feature for us. So do check us out on your video screens on your devices through Spotify as well as YouTube. So that's
Yep.
also another way to see us. How great is that? Like, share, subscribe, follow all of that. www.newcollective.com. We have our next issue of Anecdotes coming out at the end
Yep.
of February. So in the meantime, check out our previous issue, which is also available on our website. So thank you so
And I
much.
painted I painted a portrait for that one. You're gonna want to see that portrait. It's a great portrait.
He did. He sat down and he actually took out his paintbrushes for once. Imagine that.
I rarely do figurative work. It's not that I can't. People are always like, "Oh, you do abstract and geometric because you can't paint." No. I just paint what I want to paint. So if you want to see it,
see that in our next issue of Anecdotes at the end of this month. Also, we were featured in a magazine last week. Did you notice that, Josh?
It's true. I did. I was amazed. I was like, holy cow, people pay attention to us. Who knew?
I know, right? I know. So we're all over Japanese press right now. So there you go.
I know.
We're international, baby. Check out the Art of Urgency magazine, which is also the link is in our description, so you can check that out too. That's all we have time for today, folks. But until next week, please stay creative. Bye for now.